Hi, I'm Sean from Better HR. So I'm joined with HR and employment law expert Weta Beckley. So we've got a few laws from 2023 I think are important, and we have some laws from 2024, some that have passed, some that are pending,
Yes.
but we'll sort of go through each one and sort of break it down.
Sure.
Okay, so another area of legislation that has been talked about a lot around Australia at a state and at a federal level is potential legislation making it a criminal offence to underpay workers. So are you aware, are any of these laws in place at the moment? Are they coming?
They're coming next year, hopefully. They're generally there so that they protect employees from being underpaid and undercut by their employers. So wage theft has been a huge thing over the past few years. We've seen a lot of prosecutions come through for underpaying employees, and most big companies have also self-reported when they've discovered some form of underpayment. And so these laws will assist in ensuring that that behavior is deterred by employers. And most employers do the right thing, but for the few that, do find themselves misled somehow, these laws are there to ensure that you're back in line.
And particularly some of those who, there's some repeat offenders that appear in the media again
Correct.
and again.
Correct.
And one company that I think is up to about $150 million in back pay now. If you look at like the 7-Elevens and
Yes.
those type of brands, it's just
Yeah.
enormous.
Yeah.
And they seem to make a habit of reporting a smaller amount and then doing an enforceable undertaking with the ombudsman.
Yes.
And then it turns out to be a much larger amount.
Yeah. So
So-
now they'll face hefty penalties in the millions.
Yeah. So that'll be for companies and individuals.
Correct.
And so I assume this will be an extent. It'll be interesting to see how this legislation is drawn up, because it'll draw on, is it just over 90% now of prosecutions include an accessory? So people like your bookkeeper or your payroll person or your
Managers.
HR manager, your manager, the director of a company.
Operations
so people
manager.
who had a responsibility or should have known
Yeah.
that there were things happening with underpayments.
Absolutely.
So when the company's prosecuted, then the director or these managers are also prosecuted
Correct.
and given personal fines. So,
Yeah. And imprisonment as well.
so
They
now
could-
they'll be up for imprisonment potentially.
Absolutely.
So just
yeah.
because your director tells you to underpay people, unless you put that in writing and you protect yourself and help to stop those things happening,
Yeah.
you'll be caught up in.
Yeah. And if you're unsure of what to pay your employees, contact us. We're here for that. Give us a call on the AGHA line, on the ADP line, on our hotline. As a member, you have access to professionals who are able to tell you what you need to pay your employees to avoid underpayments.
Yeah, and I think importantly is, get this sort of advice in writing when it comes to award classifications, pay grade classifications, making sure you have documents of what is the job that you're grading.
Correct.
Because again, if you're doing these things and you're asking for these things, then you know that an expert has given you a written confirmation of what these things are.
Correct.
So if there ever is an underpayment claim, you can pull these documents out and say, well, I followed the steps to ensure the pay was done correctly, that I was giving the right entitlements.
Correct.
If you don't know what the correct award is, or you get the award wrong, definitely your pay grade's wrong.
Correct.
If you don't know the right award, how do you know you're paying the right entitlements?
Correct.
And this is what you see time and time again with all of these underpayment claims: wrong award classification, not updating it, not reviewing it when the position changes, no documentation behind it, or the classification was done by your bookkeeper or by a manager who may have used a website to sort of think, well, I think it's that position because that's the title. I know a good case of a very big company that has a multi-million-dollar HR industrial relations team and still classifies a lot of their franchise employees under their company enterprise agreement.
Oh dear.
But it's not part of that company, so therefore it's not part of that enterprise agreement. So you can't assume, and that's why you need experts to do this stuff and make sure you get these things in writing.
Absolutely.
So just having seen thousands of companies doing this stuff, I think that's really important to remind people.
And it's not just about the minimum wages, it's also about all the other entitlements that come under an award or an enterprise agreement. You might be paying them the right minimum wage, but are you paying the right allowances? Are you paying the right penalties? Are you paying the right allowances, So
Which then gets into your contracts even. How are you actually stating these things are paid? I mean, it's the old trick that people who try to do the right thing, and I think generally people try to do the right thing.
Yes.
But the minimum wage might be $25.
Correct.
So they'll pay $28 and they'll say it's an inclusive rate, but they never actually say it's an inclusive rate. So according to the contract or the pay slip, your minimum wage is $28.
$28, yeah.
So you've never actually said anywhere that all of these other entitlements are actually being paid. So when you're audited, your minimum wage was $28. Where's your allowances? Where's all your other things? And you go, well, that was included. But
where does it state that it is included?
so hence why make sure when you're using contracts in Australia, you're using, Australian
Compliant
built contracts. Yeah, not just generic Word documents you find on the internet, because this is where a lot of these contracts can go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, good points.